And I just enjoyed that what if session. And I'm going to start off and I'm going to say, what if you could have a marketing department that had all the talent you need, that had expertise in social media, that had expertise in videography, that had expertise in everything from web development to copywriting. What if this could be a team that reported to you? And what if it fit in your budget? That's what we do at Crazy Good Marketing. And I am so thrilled to be here today with you and working on EDCC. And the other thing that I want to share with you, we have a corollary company called Eye-to-Eye Workforce. And Eye-to-Eye Workforce does the same thing in HR. Now, this morning we heard from functional leaders that talked about what they do to attract, hire, and retain great talent. Well, guess what? We have 5 generations in the workforce, and we're going to hear from them this afternoon. And that complexity, the workforce, working virtually, actually creates complexities for us as business owners and business leaders. And we have an esteemed HR panel that is going to come and share what they get to deal with every day. Now, I'm going to start and I'm going to introduce the moderator, and then he's going to introduce the rest of the members of the team. And you are really going to enjoy this. So, Scott Morris is the Chief HR Officer with CU Boulder. What's amazing about Scott is he's not a typical HR person, and anymore, HR people aren't. They have to be partners with the business. He has over 20 years in both public and private industry. He has worked at multiple different universities, 4 consultancies, and he's also worked with labs. So he brings a very refreshing perspective to everything he does. What I'd like to do, I want to invite our panelists and Scott up on the stage.
Thanks, Melodie. I take it this one's on. You know the fear that comes with wearing a lav mic just around? Well, so I'm Scott Morris. Thank you for the nice introduction. Part that she didn't tell you, I'm a non-traditional HR person in the sense that I was a working actor in Hollywood. That was my first job. I have a handful of film credits. I've done a bunch of television, some commercials. I was a sworn officer with the Los Angeles Police Department. I will tell you, I call on both of those every day in the course of what we do. I'm new. Or very shiny. I don't know whether, can you still hear me? Do I still have mic? Okay, so I'm new to Colorado. I'm originally from my mother, quickly emigrated to Chicago, and moved here to take the job at the University of Colorado in Boulder about 9 months ago. I can tell you, how many of you are native to Colorado? This is the greatest state in the union, I don't kid you. I have never had an experience like I had coming into this great state. This panel is about workforce management, and I thought a great place for us to start before we got going is to maybe define that a little bit. Right? Workforce management are all of the things end-to-end that it takes to run the workforce. Right? You can drive a truck through this. So when you think about it, the things that HR people like the panel are thinking about every day are how do we translate the business objectives into people objectives? How do we start to talk about, how many of you, just by show of hands, have heard of the words employment value proposition? Good, then this is going to be meaningful comments from us, right? Employment value proposition. What is the reason that anybody wants to work at that company, in that workforce? And increasingly, it's becoming important to be able to present that employment value proposition. How do we reach out into communities? How do we attract people to come and work? What's the science through which we select people into the organization? These are things that HR people are thinking about every day when it comes to workforce management. What's the future of performance management? That's a question that I'm going to ask the panel in a little bit. We've moved from command and control and every year evaluations, and we're moving to something else. What is that? That's what HR people are thinking about every day. When people leave the organization, why are they leaving? How do we translate those themes into something that we can use to do something different? Now, I know there are sessions on millennials, but one of the challenges that we face every day as HR professionals is how we deal with differences, generational and others, in the workforce. And just a couple of things that you might not know about the millennial generation. If you are between 18 and 34. Do me a favor and raise your hand. 18 and 34. Not as many as in the workforce, because Gen Y, the millennials, right now are the largest, and these are folks that are 18 to 34-year-olds. They are the largest generation in the workplace today. Today, in 2015, 1 of every 3 of our workers falls into that millennial generation. By 2025, millennials are going to be 75% of our workforce. And what's important about this generation is that they want very different things from work than the generations that preceded them, and that creates some interesting problems for us. PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, did a survey recently. It was a survey from last year. They looked at millennials and they found that 41% of all of the millennial generation prefer to communicate electronically. 51% of them felt that feedback should be given frequently or, and this is a challenging word, continually. That's a challenging word for managers who aren't used to communicating about performance frequently or in some cases at all. 59% of them said that an employer's use of technology was a significant factor in their choice to work at that company. And so some of the things that we're thinking about is how do we show that to those people that we're trying so hard to attract. GuideSpark, which is an employee communications company, in its own survey found that 44% of millennials want to receive benefits information, which is among some of the most challenging types of information that we communicate. They want to receive that via their mobile phone in little tiny bites. Cisco said that 56% of millennials, or reported that 56% of that millennial generation won't take a job in a company that bans social media. So these are real factors for us. But differences in generations, they're not the only things that impact our workforces, our ability to attract or to keep talent. Another factor that is coming at us huge right now is the recovering economy, which is a good thing, right? If you look at the time since 2005, the United States economy has added $3 trillion in gross domestic product. The S&P 500, which in 2009 was at a low point, now is at an all-time high. The Consumer Confidence Index continues to move higher. Unemployment, which soared to 10% in 2010, is now, as of May of this year, hovering around 5.5% and on its way farther down. Now, those are good things for the workforce, but it makes it fundamentally harder to get talent into an organization. So there are things that we have to think differently about in the workplace that are going to impact our company's abilities to be successful. I'll tell you one more. I'll give you a story because it's something that HR people think a lot about, which is employee engagement. And this is an evolving topic within HR circles today, but it matters for the following reason. Towers Watson, which is a consulting company, did a study that showed that fully engaged employees tend to produce 16% more than we pay them, while fully disengaged employees tend to produce 60% of what we pay them. So just to put some numbers to it before I turn over and let the panel introduce themselves, if you have a company that's 10,000 people and you have 30% of that 10,000 that's disengaged, fully disengaged, and you're paying them an average of $40,000 in salary, that's $72 million of loss that comes simply from their engagement. And the number one factor that is guiding employee engagement is the relationship between the manager and the person that they manage. And those are the kinds of things that HR professionals are thinking about every day in the workforce. Now, for my own set of challenges, people think of CU and they think of teaching. What they don't realize is that we are a $1.5 billion operation, that we have 32,000 students that we're looking after, that we have 15,000 total employees just on the Boulder campus. About 9,000 of those are full-time faculty and staff. We run our own police force. We have about 2,000 skilled trades workers. We have a medical profession on campus, including medical doctors and other healthcare professionals. So we're a small city, and all the things that affect a large corporation, they affect us, and they affect us in some cases in spades. So just an introduction to the topic that we're going to be talking about today. Let me let the panel introduce themselves, and rather than me trying to butcher an introduction, I'm just going to turn it over and let JB begin and introduce herself.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm JB Bettinger. I'm Vice President of Human Resources for Stonebridge Companies, and you will know us as a hotel company. We are an ownership and management group for hotels, as well as we manage for ownership groups across the country, 9 states, 2,700 employees. So you can imagine the types of issues that come across our desk every single day. So one of the things that is near and dear to my heart, we just recently had a senior executive retreat, and one of the things that really became apparent when we were having an opportunity to do our discussions and our presentations is that our COO and our president charged everybody, every individual in the room, our entire team, that everyone is a recruiter and that everyone is responsible for growing the brand and everyone is responsible for developing every single individual that we come in contact with every day. It's just not an HR function anymore. So with that in mind, I'll move forward on recruiting, engaging, and development, things we're focused on. Now, this is a little bit hard to read, but hopefully you can follow along here. You know, we want to know how we are targeting the workforce by understanding what each generation, as we were talking about a moment ago, values how they approach their jobs. And I'm going to tell you that this is probably one of the single biggest factors that if you don't have a matrix like this and you're not referring to it, you're going to have really tough time communicating up, down, and across your organization. This, for the first time in our history, we now have 4 generations of employees in the workforce, and they each view work differently. For instance, if you look at the top line there, you've got work ethics and values, and you see that, you know, the traditionalists, you see the baby boomers and the Generation X. But as we were talking about a moment ago, what's most important is that Generation X, or we love to call them the millennials, have a very different view of the world. And we as an organization have got to change in order to embrace technology and the world around us. Because not only are our employees our internal guests, but we also have each one of you out there in our hotels every single day. And that's why it's so important for us to be able to understand what's important to each generation, how we can touch every single one of you every day, and continue to be that brand of choice for you when you visit our hotels. You know, so what is the new generation, the millennials? Well, how do we appeal to them? Well, one of the things that we spoke about a moment ago, instant messaging, huge, huge, huge on the horizon for them. Text and tweets, it's all about fast and now, right? So we know that we're converting our application processes to enable interested candidates to apply with their LinkedIn profile or a simple 6-touch resume download system on their phones. This is one thing that we've come from the dark ages a year and a half ago. When I came with the company, we did not have an online application process. We will now have a state-of-the-art process through Workday, and we will have recruiting, onboarding, and an entire HCM system go live January 1st. So we are really embracing the fact that we're behind the 8 ball, and if we want to be competitive in the workplace, we have to be able to relate to all of our employees, and especially the millennials in the workplace. And again, another thing that's so important, recognition matters. Everyone wants to know what they do makes a difference to the company. And so we have to make a point to feature updates on social media, and we regard our employee promotions and team recognition for different accomplishments. And we're really huge about reaching out to our communities. So that is something that's really near and dear to our hearts. So again, it's that recognition piece. It's being part of the community, as they were talking about in the last presentation, about how important it is that they feel attached to the workplace in a very real and genuine way. And then another topic, or another item that's so important, is collaboration. They want a voice, they want to be heard. They need support and coaching. And coaching are all the words that resonate with this group of individuals and this generation. Therefore, how do we at my company refer out our company as our associates as a team or a family? I think everything is in language. You have to be able to think in different terms today. It's no longer I and me, it's us and we. And then let's face it, there's no other generation that's been as tech savvy as they are today. And they run circles around me every single day. To be able to communicate effectively, we have to translate 100% in mobile-friendly devices. And the one thing that I think is so awesome about the new HCM system we're moving towards is that our employees can request time off. It's a complete employee self-service portal, and they'll be able to have transactional conversations with one another, and they'll be able to replace each other on their shifts if they can't make it to work. It's going to create a whole new language and a world for us. It's also going to improve our productivity in a way that we've never seen it before. So again, we have to grow our e-commerce team, and now our e-commerce team is actively involved in marketing and recruitment for us, for future employees, and targeting the millennials on social media. So in my next slide, you'll see something that's entirely different. On the left side, on the left side of the screen, you'll notice that this is all the technology that we've embraced in the last year. We know that we've now reached out to LinkedIn. We've streamlined our employee profiles to increase exposure, to like, to comment, and to share education. And we've used LinkedIn very successfully, and for those of you who are not reaching out through LinkedIn, it is an incredibly wonderful professional network. And by the way, I am astonished about how many housekeepers are on LinkedIn. And you wouldn't think that would be the case, but it's really true. So again, that's a huge, huge opportunity for us. In Workday, again, we're mobile friendly, easier and quicker application process. We're separating our career pages for school programs. We're really reaching out into our community. Performance management, succession planning, and employee recognition is all available in that system, and it helps remind all our managers on a regular basis where they are in terms of that. We're also using a tool that's called Predictive Index, and it enhances our ability to be able to hire individuals into teams where this is an index that helps us understand how they're hardwired and motivated. And this particular tool helps us know how they'll fit into their new team and how they'll be successful. And so it's a very exciting tool that we're using and have for a number of years. And it's a part of Workday now, so it'll never be forgotten. And then on the right side is the community in which we live and reside. We reach out to Denver Public Schools. We are offering paid internships for hard-to-fill positions. We're participating in ACE Advisory Board, high school graduation recruitment. We're creating an opportunity through Handshake Careers and preferred job boards for Cornell, MSU, Johnson Wales University, DU, and CSU hotel management programs. You know, and it's very important for us to reach out to the new leaders in our organization. And we have a Demand Fellowship program too at MSU. That's really a great opportunity. And out of 10 fellowship students that we had last semester, or I should say last year, we have hired 6 of them into full-time positions. So we are growing from within, and we're taking the brightest talent and helping develop them in their careers, and they are our new leaders. The future is in this room. And again, we always look for free job boards and dozens of college and hotel programs. We're always looking for great people. But never forget, every person in this room is the recruiter, so help us out. And you know, it's very important that you want to work with the very best people, and so you have a responsibility to make sure that you're building your own areas of business very methodically and professionally.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Ginther, and I'm the Human Resource Manager for Cargill Beef out on the northeastern plains of Colorado. Cargill is a privately held corporation. It's one of the biggest privately held corporations, and it employs over 142,000 employees in 67 countries. We are an international producer and marketeer of food, agricultural, industrial, and financial products and services, from grains to corn to turkeys to chicken to beef to salt, chocolate, cocoa, and other agricultural products. We will touch about 90% of the products that you see in any grocery store that you go into. We are a global company, but we, across the nation, have 9 fed beef harvest and fab operations, including 1 in Canada. We are serviced with 7 U.S. sales offices, and to support our international markets, we also have sales offices in Mexico, Canada, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, Hong Kong, and China. We sell fresh beef to virtually every major retailer, hotel, food service operator, manufacturer, and distributor in the country. Some of the brands that Cargill does business under, you can see on the slide. And you very rarely will see Cargill in a grocery store. We do the majority of our business in the background, and other companies put their names on our products and our product solutions. I know. In Fort Morgan, we're about 80 miles north and east of Denver, straight up I-76. And this facility was built in 1966 and opened in 1967. It has been a beef fabrication harvest facility the entire time it's been open. We process about 4,800 head of cattle a day. We have about 2,100 employees in our facility there, and it's been around that 2,000 mark since the late 80s. We can ship about 2.4 million pounds of product every day. Some of the demographics in our facility haven't changed since the late 80s either. We have been predominantly 65-66% male and 34-35% female. We are in 3 different employee groups. There's management and clerical, there's our company hourly, and then there's our union production. This facility has been represented by International Teamsters since it opened in 1966. One of the things that we're pretty proud of is that over 43% of the employees in our facility have at least 20 years or more service. On the flip side of that, one of the biggest things that we struggle with is turnover, and about 67% of our turnover comes from employees that have less than a year's worth of service with us. So the things that we struggle with the most are recruiting, retention, onboarding, and those issues there. We have employees in our facility that come from 30 different countries and more, and we speak over 20 languages a day in our facility. We are constantly translating conversations, sometimes from English to Spanish to French. Sometimes we're going from Somali to Tigrinya to English. We talk a lot every day in multiple languages. And that's another thing. We are extremely diverse culturally, so every day we have to take that time out to have the same conversations with different people, but on the same issues, just to make sure that our production facility runs with a minimal amount of interruptions. Our overall strategies are focused not only on the production of the beef products that we do every day, but we focus on safety, environmental, and community. We do behavioral-based observations on a daily basis. Every one of our management team and our company hourly employees are required to do at least one safety observation a day, which they have to watch an employee. Do they have the right equipment on, all their personal protective equipment? Are they doing the job correctly? Is their technique okay? How are they interacting with the people around them? So it's a complete observation, and then you document it and have a conversation with that employee where you either coach them on a more appropriate behavior or you say thank you for working safe. We lead the beef industry and have an excellent reportable frequency rate of 2.4, which is a great reportable frequency rate for any industry across the U.S. Safety is everyone's role and responsibility, and we spend a good portion of our day every day talking about that. We have an on-site wastewater facility. We want our impact in Morgan County to be not a huge impact, but we also want to be community-minded. We process the water for release back into the South Platte River in better shape than when we bought it from the city of Fort Morgan. We also do quite a bit of our own recycling, and through our wastewater facility, we'll produce about 30% of our own energy needs on a daily basis through the methane gas capture, which will run in our refrigeration and boiler operations. The 3 strategic partners that we have in the community is United Way and Morgan County Community College and Caring Ministries. United Way is a big part of Cargill's donation, and it's on the forefront of the things that they do across the nation. Our average donations for the last 4 years have been $89,000. to Warren County United Way, and probably 75% of that money comes from our employees' contributions. We talk to them when they start, and every month about, even if you gave a quarter a paycheck, that's $1 a month, and that goes $12 into the community a year, multiplying that times 2,000 employees, that can add up rather quickly. So most of them will do it, and it's a wonderful way to give back. Morton Community College has partnered with us since 1993 on a workplace education program. It's been nationally recognized as one of the top 5 across the U.S. for on-site workplace education programs. We do anything from English as a base second language, GED, citizenship, computer programming, and tailoring programs for management and growth in the company. And then Caring Ministries is a community-based organization that has a store where people can go in and get whatever they need at no cost. So whether it's food or it's clothes or it's things for their house like dishes or whatever they might need, that's what Caring Ministries tries to take care of. So we do have a partnership with them where we donate beef to them on a monthly basis to make sure that their food bank stays viable. And by all means, we are not the only one in Morton County that does this, but they're a great organization that we partner with. So probably the biggest thing that we do on a daily basis is feed the world, Cargill does, and we're proud of that, and we spend a tremendous amount of time trying to retain good people, so recruiting and those things are on the forefront of everything that we do every day to make sure that we can get our product out the door.
Well, it's certainly nice snuggling on the love seat. I'm going to stand up. Stand up. It's a little easier for me to talk. Who's ready for ski season? One of the reasons why we live here, of course, and we'll get this up and coming in a moment. I'm Mark Gasta. I lead HR for Vail Resorts, although I noticed on your little brochure and on the overhead it says that I'm the ex-VP. I maybe don't need to go back to work this afternoon. Actually, I'm the executive vice president, not the ex-vice president. We're a company of 25,000 employees at our peak, obviously very seasonal with all of our operations, and we're a $4 billion business. Many people don't realize when they hear Vail, they think that we're Vail Mountain. The reality is we're a lot more than that. I'll tell it to you in a story. We don't brand our services as Vail Resorts. All of our services, we want to be unique to the guest and feel very special, but we also want to maintain a certain level of customer service to our guests. So it's important that we can vertically integrate our operations. So we pick up our guests at the airport. Anyone know our business that helps us do that? CME, Colorado Mountains Express. We stop midway. The guest needs to use the restroom, get a cup of coffee, buy those gloves they forgot at Dumont. Who operates at Starbucks? We do. Breeze Sporting Goods right next door. That's ours as well. You go to the Arabelle Hotel, one of our finest hotels in Vail itself. It doesn't say Arabelle Hotel powered by Vail Resorts. That's also our hotel. You rented your skis because we advised you when you booked your vacation on rentskis.com. That's ours. Your boots are in your room. Your skis are at the Ski Concierge. You go to retail. If you're shopping around the Arabelle, you'll see North Face and Patagonia and Vail Sports and Burton and Quicksilver. Those are all our stores. We operate them all. Again, our guests want a whole experience, right? And the skiing could be great, but if the rest is missing, it's not a full luxury vacation serving all of the members of the family. We also have spas and restaurants and ski school and you name it. So it's a very vertically integrated business, which is our approach. You can see that we have 12 ski resorts around North America primarily, and our newest acquisition in Australia. And you can see on the bottom that vertical integration. You know, part of our strategy is to reimagine the industry. So for those of you that have been around Colorado a little while, you may remember that at one point in time, I don't know how many years ago now, maybe it was 12, 15, maybe even longer, we introduced the Colorado Pass, which was 4 resorts on one pass for less than $500. Previously, anybody have any idea how much one resort on one pass cost for a season? Over $1,000, right? So people thought we were insane. They thought we were crazy. But really what we did is we made a trade-off. We said, we're going to give you incredibly discounted prices and incredible access to lots of different resorts if you give us your loyalty, right? So in return, we have loyalty with guests now that can ski not only these resorts, but we also have partnerships with, I lose track of the number because it's going up and down all the time, with approximately 20 resorts around the world that you can ski on this one pass. So what we've gained in loyalty, what we've gained in securing revenue before the snow even flies, has been priceless, so to speak. This is our business model here, just to quickly let you see how we think, right? Let's start over here on reinvest in the business. I think that's what's unique about our company. I like to say all skiing is good skiing, and I truly believe that. There's just different kinds of experiences. I particularly love backcountry skiing as well. That's a very different kind of experience than skiing at Beaver Creek, but it's all good. The way we differentiate ourselves is we reinvest in the business. Vail Resorts reinvests more capital annually than the whole North American ski industry in total. So we really put a premium on offering a different experience with restaurants, snowmaking, grooming, hotels. That's where all the capital investment goes. What that then allows us to do is create these world-class resorts. We have a very high-end guest that comes and visits. We charge a premium. You know, there's a tension here, right? We have a very discounted price for loyalty for a pass product. And then if you show up on Christmas and you go to the window, you're going to pay a premium as a result. So we have two kind of models with some tension between them. We end up with high margins, flow through, strong free cash flow, and then we can reinvest in all our stakeholders. And I say all of our stakeholders. Of course, we need to give back to our shareholders, but we reinvest in the resorts, we reinvest in our employees, we reinvest in our communities. It doesn't matter how good our mountain experience is. If the community experience is poor, the guest isn't going to come back. And ultimately, we reinvest in the environment. We have joined this company because we love the outdoors. We love the idea of sharing it with others. And we pride ourselves on the fact that we know if we do our jobs well, ultimately we're helping protect why we came to the organization in the first place. Our mission is experience of a lifetime, and just real briefly to give you a little tee up about the company, and then we'll get to the questions. Our goal is to create the experience of a lifetime for every single employee every single day. Now that's aspirational. We don't do it every single day. Sometimes they come to me, you created a hell of an experience of a lifetime for me today. But at the end of the day, if we do that, we know they'll show up and do the same for our guests. So we work very hard and we do a ton of investment in our leaders so that they can be more effective. To the earlier point that your satisfaction or dissatisfaction is largely based on your leaders, as well as the whole population in general. Our vision is to reimagine the mountain experience around the world. I already talked about how the Epic Pass has reimagined pass products, but that's our goal, right? How do you maintain all that's core about this industry and all that we love and offer new experiences that our guests don't even realize they need or want today? So we're constantly pushing ourselves to say, how do we further differentiate our experience? Mountain experience, we're clear on our core. For a while, we had a whole bunch of resorts in the Caribbean. They were great resorts. We made money. We provided a great guest experience. But we realized no matter how hard we tried, we will never be the best in the world unless we go all in those boutique Caribbean resorts. So we said, well, what is our core? What do we strive to be the best in the world at? And we said, we want to be the best in the world at being a ski operator. So we're clear that our core business is the mountain operation and all of those complementary businesses that surround it. You won't see us going anywhere else. Finally, around the world, we aspire to be the first international worldwide ski operator. As I mentioned, we did acquire our first resort in Australia, which is nice counter-seasonal balance, but we have higher and higher aspirations. There's about 60 million skier visits in the US, and in Europe alone, there's about 220 million. So we've hardly even dipped our toe into the water at this point. Lastly, our team. We talked a little bit earlier about employee value proposition. This is a lifestyle choice, right? When people come to Vail Resorts, they're looking for something different. They're looking to align who they are with what they do, right? What I do is I'm an HR professional and I'm passionate about that. Who I am is I'm an outdoor enthusiast. I love sharing that experience with others. I love others getting in the outdoors and having a healthy activity with their family. And it's a beautiful win-win when you can align who you are with what you do. And that's what we offer, right? It's a unique value proposition that we really try to help our employees understand that there are puts and takes, right? I tell people all the time, go across the street, you'll make more money and get a bigger title if you're not passionate about this business. If it's just a career move, that's probably a better place for you. If you're passionate about our business, it's a unique opportunity to live your passion, to align who you are with what you do, to have a rewarding career path. We're growing, we're very aggressive, we're moving forward. There's lots of opportunities for those that perform and have high potential. And lastly, to make a difference, as I talked about the communities, the environment, and introducing people to a healthy sport. So that's Vail Resorts. Thanks for listening.
My name is Sharon Oliver, and I am over Human Resources for Ascent Solar Technologies. We are in Thornton, Colorado, and I just want to share a little bit about who we are here in the Denver area. Ascent Solar is not your typical solar manufacturer. We don't do the building applied technology. We don't do the roofing. We don't do what you might typically think, solar, you're going to install solar into my building. That's not who we are. We are a manufacturer, yes, of solar modules. However, our technology is really more towards specialty markets, and we've also branched off into consumer products. We manufacture a thin film solar panel. It's a very thin film plastic that's bendable, that's lightweight, and can really go on almost anything. We target aerospace, aviation. We're looking at the drone industry. We also, like I said, we have gone into a consumer product line, which is called Enerplex, and you may have seen that throughout town. That is really more towards, we have solar integrated products for consumer electronics. We have a product line that's called a surfer line. So you iPhone users or iPhone people, we can provide a battery case for you that is solar integrated also. So something to go check out. Go to goenerplex.com. There's my plug. We also provide jumpers, which are mobile battery cases, accessories. Maybe you have a different phone that we don't have a solar integrated product for you, but you still want to have a battery available for if and when your battery life is going out. We have that ability for you also. So really, it's about collecting the power, it's about storing it, and it's about using it. We have 140 employees in Thornton. Like I said, we've been in business. Actually, we'll be in business 10 years next month. So that's a pretty big milestone considering that we are in the solar market. Unfortunately, a lot of other solar players in the community are no longer here, so we're very proud to say that we are still here and we're still moving forward. Okay. When I looked at our workforce, we do have some complexities. We have 140 employees, and if you think about all the people coming together, our technology, there's really two different types of people that we have. We have those people that think the technology is cool, that's why they come. And then there's the other people that say, this is meaningful, it's the right thing to do, I'm joining because there's a purpose here. But when I looked at generations, I think Scott talked about 1 in every 3 people. I think you said 30%, I can't remember, are the different generations. We have that. We have basically 1 in every 3 people are either millennials, Gen Xers, or boomers. And so as you can probably think about, we have some complexities that come together. We also have, when I looked at generations, because of technology and high tech and the type of work that we do, we have a lot of males in our organization. I'm really proud to say that we are doing better on bringing the female engineers, the female technology into the organization, which I believe is essential for us to continue to move forward. We went through a big exercise earlier this year. It was interesting. we looked at our culture. Our CEO is from Singapore. We have a lot of Asians in our organization, so you can think about there's a different complexity there of people coming together. And sometimes I think things get lost in translation. But one of the things we had in one of our leadership retreats was he was saying, we don't have a culture. And the rest of the leaders were kind of surprised to hear him say, we do have a culture. We may not like the culture we have, or we may not have it labeled in a way that is easy to define. So we basically came together and talked about what are the values for us as we see ourselves moving forward and succeeding. As you see there on the left, it's a pyramid, and we've got our different values. The people are really the foundation. One of the things when I talk to people, especially people that decide to move on or leave the organization, the key, the common denominator is people don't want to leave because of the people. They like it. They've made friends there. And making friends at our organization is key, I think, for really our retention. And then we have the other ones, integrity, courage, teamwork, and passion. It's interesting, we came up with a little slogan to remember that, and it was, people in clean technology prosper. So that was something that we helped to help ourselves remember that. But then we also talked about, okay, we can throw that out, but what does that mean? What does that mean for the organization? So we developed these guiding principles that we basically have started to communicate with the organization. And it's interesting to get the reaction. Some people have really embraced it. Some people have said, yes, that's what I was needing. Some people have decided to maybe self-select out, and that's okay. That's all right. But as you can see there, we have the passion to succeed, the risk-taking, innovation, never give no as a first answer. I think that was very interesting because sometimes we might be conditioned to say, oh, not going to work, we've done that before. But it's really about entertaining the possibility. If it doesn't work, that's okay, but entertain the possibility. Collaboration, integrity, pride, lead by example, exceed expectations, and sense of urgency. Sense of urgency is very key, especially as we started to go into the consumer products industry. That all changes so quick. 6 months, 12 months, you've got to come up with a new product because things are just changing so crazy there. So when I looked at today and the complexities that we're having to work with as far as our whole workforce, I labeled it out as the good, the bad, and the ugly because I wanted to follow the theme. But obviously we are leveraging talents. So we have a lot of, although we have a lot of generations and a lot of people from different walks of life, we know that we can learn from each other. So that's something that is good for us. Wearing multiple hats, one of the questions I heard earlier is, what makes your organization different from others? I believe it's the fact that you're able to come to our organization and not be put in a corner and say, this is what you're doing. We're able to wear lots of different hats. I mean, even though I might be over HR, I might have to go help and pick up trash one day, and I'll do it. That's okay. That's what's needed. So I think that's important, and that's for us has been, that for us has been very valuable, especially as we attract people to really show that they're able to get a lot of visibility within our organization. Diversity, obviously you have the typical diversity, but another thing that came forward for us a couple of years ago as we went into the consumer products market was we have our technical people, our scientists, our engineers, and when we have our creative, our marketing, our brand, our product, new things. And it was interesting having those groups of people coming together because engineers might be more process-oriented and creative people might be more, no, let's just give it a try. So it's interesting, and learning from each other, I think that's been a good thing for us. The bad, I would say, is the limited resources. I'm sure a lot of organizations, probably up here too, sometimes we have some constraints. It might be because of, money might be tight. Budgets might be, we're probably running out. That's not something we budgeted for. We're doing more with less people. And so it's really that work-life balance. I don't want people getting overwhelmed, so limited resources can sometimes be a bad. Constant change. We are always changing. I heard another person talk about, for us, we might walk in and think we might know what we're working on, but within the next hour, we're working on something totally different, and we have to be okay with that. So constant change is key for us. And then new regulatory requirements. I put that in there because sometimes, I don't want to get political here, but sometimes the government thinks they're doing something really good, but unfortunately it starts to maybe create some challenges for us in the organization. Very common one that I think a lot of the organizations up here too are feeling are the Affordable Care Act requirements. So there's some complexities that have come forward with that. So regulatory requirements sometimes be a bear. The ugly, retention. Obviously the workforce is, or the jobs are starting to open up. We're now having to really rethink about how are we going to retain people. We have a lot of valuable talent, and I read something from Manpower Group last week that I think the top 10 most difficult positions to recruit for in 2010 probably included about 3 of our major type of positions. And so it's really key for us to make sure we're retaining people. And that could be by making sure they're able to grow, making sure that we give them new opportunities, making sure that we're recognizing them, even making sure that we're just coaching them when they need to be coached, because sometimes people just don't know what they don't know. And then the external pressures. On our industry, solar, a lot of the solar manufacturers have gone out of the country. They've now gone a lot into Asia. And so there are some external pressures there. We have some partnerships with companies in Asia. And so there are some external pressures there that we sometimes have challenges with. So in conclusion, when I looked at this and I said, all right, this is great, Sharon, what are you going to do about it? Well, you know, it's pretty complex, and it's not something that is just, you can take a pill and you're cured. It's not that easy. But I think some things that we need to look at for ourselves is our employer branding, especially as we've started to grow our Enerplex line. I think people have become more familiar with Enerplex as a whole, and they're not sure where Ascent Solar comes from. We've got to show how those two marry and how they come together. Oops, I apologize. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Okay, we also have to do, so we have to work on workforce branding. We also need to work on our training and development and really tap into some of the state grants. We've done that before, but we need to do more of that. And then we need to look at succession planning. Our average workforce age is 41. So we've got to really look at how do we prepare our future leaders. Okay, thank you.
So 1982, the average company's value came 62% from its physical assets and 38% from its human assets. But by 2003, those numbers had flipped. And today, the average company takes about 80 or creates 80% of its value through its people. Deloitte says that there are 2 big principal challenges today. One's leadership, the other's retention. Talk a little bit about what you're doing to hold on to your talent across some very different industries.
What we're trying to do to take care of our talent is to make sure that when we hire, we make the smart hiring choice, that we have competitive benefits, we have competitive salaries, that we have competitive work environments and abilities to learn and to grow and to be able to move. Some of our people really enjoy living in Colorado. It's a great place, and that kind of thing, but they also like to travel. So in some of our positions, do they have the ability to learn new things by taking maybe temporary assignments or just even traveling 3 or 4 weeks out of the year to different locations or to business customers and things like that. So we try to do a lot to make sure that our people are trained, they're paid right, and that we take care of them from their work-life balance as well, as some people manage. We do a lot with making sure that when things happen in their life, that we can be flexible enough with a work schedule that if they need to go take mom to the doctor, or if a kid breaks an arm, or they now have to take care of a sick spouse or a sick child, how can we integrate the work that they do with their new responsibilities and still keep them, part of our team? So we struggle every day, and we don't take anything for granted. And as things come up, we consider them. So to keep people, we just have to keep changing and keep open minds.
I think one of the things that's really important for our organization is that we have to reach out into our communities and be present, to reach out to our students, to reach out to individuals who may be coming from different backgrounds and experiences. I know that our organization has reached out to some of the service agencies in town, and we have a large population of Sudanese in Denver, and we have created a very special training opportunity for those individuals to not only enter the workforce, but become part of a team and to be able to be wage earners for their families and to help them assimilate to their new life in the United States. In addition to that, our team members, we like to grow them from within. Our associates are always promoted into new roles and accountabilities, and we love to be able to, they can move around the country. So they have an opportunity to have different experiences, just not in Colorado, but in many, many different states. And so it's really, I guess, just mentoring and seeing people grow and giving them programs and opportunities to engage at every step of the way in terms of their growth and development. And there are going to be times when they go through things in their personal life where they can't embrace it. But we have to be understanding, and we have to be able to reach out to our teams and make sure that we're keeping our finger on the pulse of all of our people at every step of the way in our hotels every day.
And you just made a major change in terms of your policies and the way that you approach vacation, and this is totally cutting edge. Not a lot of people are doing this yet, but I do think it's a trend for the future. It's difficult to manage. You want to talk about it?
Yes, we've adopted what we call a life-work balance program, and it really encourages, there's no limitation on the amount of vacation time that you can take in our organization. It's all based on the teams, what you're accomplishing, what your goals and objectives are, and everybody has to work together to accomplish those goals and objectives. But it's up to the team too to make sure that everybody gets time off to refresh and to rejuvenate and to reach out into the community and do the things that they love to do, and come back to the work group and be a key producer and productive environment. So it's really a great opportunity. It creates teamwork, it creates leadership, it creates flexibility, which a lot of workplaces really need these days, so including ours. So it's really great to see the cutting edge that we're doing. We're not throwing the babies out with the bathwater, but we definitely are changing things up, and we're taking a look at all of our culture and our current policies and procedures, and we're changing them up just to make sure that we are that employer choice.
James Linder, who's a researcher at the Ohio State University. By the way, they're very serious about the in Ohio State. He studies employee motivation. Number one thing that promotes employee loyalty in a company is flexibility. Good answer, but not true. Incentives, not true. Science is against that. You bet it is. It's the relationship between the manager and the employee. Number two item, working on meaningful projects. Number 5, compensation. Management and management development are key. Mark, you manage a really varied workforce. Talk a little bit about what you do to make sure your supervisors are playing a role in that retention strategy.
Yeah, actually, I'll talk about both supervisors, and the next one you hit on was purpose, right? And both of those are absolutely critical to us. Our focus is 100% on creating the best possible leaders that we can, period. We believe everything else will fall into place once you do that, right? So yes, it ultimately is about driving revenue and reinvesting in the business and all that, but you can't do that unless you first and foremost create the best possible leaders. So it's been quite a journey for us working with leaders at all levels throughout the organization, and I'll tie it right back to purpose, helping them reflect on their own sense of purpose, right? That's the key to leadership in our mind, is this self-awareness. Understanding who I am, what I believe, what I'm good at, where I need help, being vulnerable, asking for help, and showing up in an authentic way in which others can connect with, right? So we have not only tried to help these leaders understand from a self-awareness standpoint, kind of what their purpose is and how do they connect and why are they connected to this organization, and how will they help us achieve our legacy and ultimately their legacy. We've been helping all employees try to get that sense of how do they fit into the bigger picture, so that when they come to work, it's not just about selling tickets, it's not just about the task at hand, but rather they see how they fit into the larger whole, because yes, we want that greater sense of purpose as well.
Sharon, you want to add something to that?
I would agree with that. I think one of the things that we're doing internally, which we should have been doing, and it's interesting, we just thought about it, is we're starting to have a mid-level manager meeting every month. And that's been good because the leaders, the supervisors, the managers are actually sharing their success stories and maybe even their lessons learned. So I think that's been helpful to help them understand what employees are expecting and maybe what worked. And so I think that's good because it creates dialogue. It also helps ensure that, you know, if you're doing something on one side of the building, how can I potentially do that on my side of the building? So that's a sharing, it's a community that's come forward.
Spending on leadership development has doubled in the last 2 decades, doubled, $14 billion annually. We're not getting much better at it. What's going on? Nothing like throwing the panel a curveball, huh?
I'll tell you what I think is a big impact on our leadership is lack of engagement and turnover. And, you know, I think a lot of our leaders, if we aren't growing and developing and keeping them fully engaged, they will look elsewhere and they will leave the company, and that can be a drain on an organization. So I think that you have to be ever mindful that you have to create an environment where everyone is fully engaged.
And in this talent market right now, it's a wonderful thing, right? It's a great thing for our business in terms of the economy's strong. We have guests coming, but yes, the pressure on talent has never been higher, at least not in the recent decade or so. So ensuring that people see a path forward, right? It fits in so many places. The employees need to look to their supervisor and know they have somebody that believes in them and believes in their potential and is going to invest in them and develop them. And the supervisor needs to say, hey, I'm getting the tools I need to be successful. I see a career path forward. I know this company's invested in me. I see that I will have lots of opportunities to grow and align with my purpose. So it has never been more important, at least not in my career.
Talk about the impact that open source sites like Twitter and Yelp and Glassdoor and LinkedIn have had on your efforts to recruit talent into your companies.
I think that's one market that Cargill is just now getting more and more into. Cargill is traditionally, it's a privately held corporation that liked to do things in the background. They didn't want a lot of publicity. They wanted to just grow their company strong and steady and stay out of the government's way, stay out of the limelight, things like that. No publicity is good publicity, they used to think. So they're a little bit trying to catch up now with doing more things out this way. And so they've really started to tap into the Facebook and Twitter market. They are big into LinkedIn. And Cargill now has its own internal site that's similar to Facebook called Yammer. And you can get on and you can post questions, you can do surveys, you can get on and talk about activities in your area. They have a lot of blogs and sounding boards and recognition type atmosphere and that. So they are really getting in, and they did a lot of it internally first and now are really starting to branch out to where they have people that will come out to facilities like ours and help us set up a Facebook page or help us understand how Twitter goes and how to best utilize it. So it is upcoming, it's on the forefront, and it's going to be more and more important as we move forward.
Let's take just a couple of questions, or maybe even opportunity. We'll just pause for a second for some questions from you. And I'll be full service. I'll come, if you'll turn my mic down, I'll come take the hand mic out. Don't leave me hanging. Sir, the other end of the room, I'm coming.
So I have a quick question related to particularly millennials and them entering the workforce. One of the big challenges that we hear nationally is related to student loan debt. And I'm wondering, as workforce individuals and workforce people, with those people coming in with those issues, have you had any discussions at the employer level as to addressing that, whether or not it needs to be addressed at the employer level, or if that's really on kind of the student and the young millennial side, and just what are your thoughts in general about that?
Well, I can speak for my organization, as I know that that's an item that's on the table right now for discussion. We do reach out to our student communities. We do have fellowship programs where we provide them with paid internships, and then we try to groom them for a position inside our organization. As far as taking it a step further and helping them pay down their debt, obviously that's another benefit that we're looking at presently to see what we can do to help keep people fully engaged and create an avenue for them financially that help them feel more comfortable. They're not worried about paying their debt. They're more concerned about being at work and doing their best every day.
I would say for our organization, the ski industry traditionally has not been very sophisticated from an HR comp and benefits standpoint. We affectionately would call it psychic income in the past, right? If you want to work in the industry, you're going to get paid less, right? And we've tried to change that, and we've tried to become a best-in-class employer, and we're somewhere around here, right? We're working towards this. And as we do that, we have to be very thoughtful about where we spend our money. And yes, that comes up all the time. So does tuition reimbursement, things like that. However, what I've had to keep my team and our company focused on is where are we going to get the biggest bang for the buck? Where are we going to have the biggest impact? And making up numbers, if there's 50 people that we give $50,000, that's a big chunk of money around student debt, that we could take that money and invest it in leadership development or base wages or other types of things that will have a bigger impact across the entire workforce. So while I would love to say we're there, we're not there yet, and we're focusing on other avenues.
One or two more.
Hi. As a millennial Gen Yer looking for a job, any words of wisdom for how you can make yourself stand out and be attractive to corporations like your own?
I think one of the biggest things that I look for when I'm interviewing somebody is somebody who's flexible. Everybody comes in with specific talents and passions and experiences from their background in that. And when we're looking for a position, we're looking for somebody in HR, or we're looking for an accountant, we're looking for a production person. And so we are looking, for specific skills. But within that family, we want somebody that's going to roll their sleeves up and help the company move forward. So it's not to be proud if you're going to file or pick up trash or do whatever needs to be done. It's be part of our team and say what you think, be vocal and help us move forward, challenge us, but be flexible in what you're willing to do, because nobody's job is that perfect job description, and people are always looking for somebody that can cross over and help out when things get pretty tense. So be flexible.
I would add to that do your research on the company.
Yes.
Make sure that when you get asked, you have any questions for us, ask the questions, because that does show the interest, that you at least took some time to research what is it we produce, what do we do, and I think that'll go a long way.
I think increasingly, as employers, we're looking for people who are passionate about our businesses, and I think that rings true. And finding that fit is absolutely critical, not just for the employer, but for every employee. I'm getting the crook, but I'm going to take one. I'm not going to take one more. That light is flashing, which means the podium's going to break up. Let me thank the panel, all four, and thank all of you.